Duke, what's with the hair? You got aspirin?
You should feel better momentarily, and your memory will slowly return.
Duke, what's with the hair?
The specific...
Question. What kind of bear is best?
That's a ridiculous question.
False. Black bear. Fact. Bears eat beets.
Oh.
Bears. Beets. Battlestar Galactica.
Bears do not...
Yeah, Bob. You remember Bob, the guy that's gonna launch a nuclear attack? You got any more abuse you want to hurl my way? Or are you ready to go in here and take care of Bob?
What do you propose, Bob?
When in doubt, C4.
There, YouTube campers and good old Star Wars Penguin fans. It's your favorite Star Wars Penguin, Bob, here. And we are back for day number 11 of Star Wars on Trial by Critics Court Film Threat. Hey, Tracy, glad to see you here. Anyway, I'm ready to go. I've got my iced coffee ready. I've already had to go before... I had to go to the little penguin's room before I started stream because apparently my little bird bladder decided it was already full. Before I started. I'm ready for potato candy as well. Sip, sip away. Anyway, so let's get to it, shall we? Okay. Today is the Jury Deliberation special. It's a little bit shorter of a video. It's only about an hour long. Hey, Perrin, no problem. I don't have a problem with lurkers. I'm a lurker myself. Anyway, All the links to this video are down in the description, as well as the link to Film Threat's YouTube channel and Chris Gore, who has awesomely allowed me to be able to restream this and give my penguin thoughts on it. So anyway, that's exactly what's happening here, and we will get in here and start watching this. And like I said, it's only going to be about like an hour, but unless I get long-winded, you never know. This little penguin can't be long-winded because, you know, I have to hold my breath when I go underwater to frag the fish. But anyway, let's get going, shall we? And I also have my the closed captioning on, as well as my profanity filter working, which gets about 90% of profanity, hopefully. And we'll just go from there and see what happens. So let's get into it, shall we? Only got this week and next left. Next week is the verdict. Definitely don't want to miss that.
All rise.
Oh, all rise.
You may be seated. We are continuing in the matter of fandom versus Star Wars Lucasfilm and Disney
Chris
for the
Gore.
murder of the Star Wars franchise. Normally, jury deliberations is something that is not televised and not made public.
Right.
But as I am the judge in this trial, I have made the determination in the interests of transparency that we will allow you, the viewers, to see inside the jurors' deliberations. Now, what we have invited on members of the jury, which are also members of the Film Threat YouTube channel. They will be on here shortly to discuss all 9 counts leveled against Disney/Lucasfilm. Randomly selected has been lead judicator Jeff Tucker. Before we bring Mr. Tucker on, we have a Mr. Todd Blackwood.
Ooh,
Mr.
Mr. Blackwood.
Mr. Blackwood. He is going to be our
Wow,
sketch
now we
artist for today,
know what he looks like.
and he will be showing us sketches based on today's proceedings. You can follow him at blackwoodpdx.com, and you can also visit his Instagram. And there you go, at Blackwood.
His link is down in the description of the video.
I also want to remind the jury to have an open mind. We have spent the last few months going through all 9 counts with the prosecution and the defense. You have kept an open mind. Now I want to hear thoughts from the jury. It's time for Critics Court. Court is in session.
Let's skip through that. Wait a minute. Back up. There we go.
Mr. Ng, I'm disappointed no tie today.
Yes, I can get one. It'll be the ever popular Winnie the Pooh tie.
Well, this is jury deliberations, and while I would expect most to be dressed for court, I understand that the last few months has been very stressful on many people, has been very stressful. And so your casual jury attire, I will accept it. I will accept it. So here we are. I also, as it is, this is as at the time of this recording, it's the weekend. I am going to be indulging in
Oh, well, there you
a
go.
little bit of beverage here.
Yes,
And,
today's deliberations will be important. I believe the result is most likely going to be a hung jury or a hanging jury, one of the two.
Well, we shall see. Let's bring on our sketch artist, Mr. Blackwood. Thank you for joining us today, and joining us, the lead adjudicator. And I'm very excited to hear his statements. I'm interested to hear what this gentleman has to say. Mr. Jeff Tucker is joining us. Mr. Tucker, thank you for your presence today.
I don't know him.
I didn't have a choice. I was sent a summons, but I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker.
He
Would
was
you
summoned.
like to make a statement before we begin and bring on other members of the jury to join you?
Sure. Thank you. I grew up in the Star Wars generation. I saw Star Wars on the big screen when I was young. I waited 2.5 hours for that screening because back then theaters didn't have a lot of screens and you had to wait in line.
Yeah.
You didn't just walk up and buy a ticket or do it on your phone. We didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
But I loved Star Wars. I lived and breathed Star Wars.
Same.
I grew up poor. We didn't have a lot of money. But my mother worked overtime whenever she could, and she bought me anything Star Wars I wanted because Star Wars kept me in school, kept me working. I idolized not only the characters on the screen, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Princess Leia, Chewbacca, C-3PO, R2-D2. I also idolized the people who made the movies because the Topps trading cards showed you who made the movie, who did the special effects, who wrote it, who directed it. And Star Wars became so important to me.
I remember those
not only
trading
the
cards.
Toys, which
I think
still
I
have
had
to
one or
this
two
day,
of them.
my 12-inch Luke Skywalker.
Yeah,
doll,
look at
which
that.
was a friend of mine when I was
That
a kid.
is
This was
awesome.
a friend, not just a toy. And I treated all my toys like that. I also had the bed sheets, the birthday parties, the
I had some bed sheets
when
too,
it
I
came
think.
available on home video. I couldn't believe it. I could watch Star Wars whenever I wanted because up until that point, I only had the Roscoe Brown recording where R2-D2 told you when to turn the page. And I grew up loving Star Wars. And when Star Wars ended in 1983, there were a couple of Ewok movies. I followed along as long as I could. I read a lot of the novels that came out in the early 90s, beginning with the Timothy Zahn trilogy, Heir to the Empire.
Oh, that's
I
a
read
good
lot of Kevin
series. That's
Anderson,
what I'm
a lot of the
rereading
EU
right
books.
now.
And Star Wars was
Timothy
kept
Zahn.
alive. Shadows of the Empire was everything about Star Wars except a movie, and it was fantastic. I had my problems with the prequels, but I never wavered in my support of everything that George Lucas had done for me. So when he sold it, I was a little upset because here we had this big giant corporation known for watering things down and creating movies that didn't really matter. Disney's track record up until that point wasn't very good. And when I went to see The Force Awakens opening night, I was the only one in the group who said, this isn't good. They're not on a good start here. And boy, that was the understatement of the year because it just got worse as the years went. Disney has mishandled every one of these counts. It's obvious where the jury is going to lie in their decision, and I'm proud to be a part of it. Thank you, Judge Gore.
Well, thank you, Mr. Tucker. I'll just say this. Don't be so confident. Don't be so confident that it's going to go a certain way. There's a line from The Last Jedi that even says that. I don't recall the line.
I only saw Last Jedi.
I don't either.
I had no desire to watch it again.
Mr. Ng, anything you'd like to say before we bring on other members of the jury?
Yes, I feel unlike Mr. Tucker, the jury will weigh all sides and will come to a fair and logical conclusion. And again, we don't know where this is headed. All I do know is that we have the greatest jury in the world. They are fair-minded, unbiased, impartial, and we will find the result that is well-deserved. And I'm sure Mr. Tucker is just a little overly confident, and I believe the debate today will be vigorous, and I believe minds will be swayed one way or the other, probably more one way than the other.
Well, we shall see. I mean, there are 9 counts, and we have no idea where this is going to go. But I do want to thank the jury before we begin. I want to thank the jury for their time, their patience. I know this has dragged on very long. We did have a brief recess the week that Mission Impossible came out, the new Mission Impossible, which was a welcome break at the theater. So I'm curious now. It is time, after months of this trial, and in the interest of authenticity, like a real trial, of course it's dragged too long. But here we are, nearing the end, with the finale. July 26th, Wednesday, July 26th will be the finale in court. You will have, as members of the jury, an opportunity
I didn't give you a break. I know.
on all 9 counts. In addition to that, there will be a final vote as to which franchise deserves to be in my courtroom. Will it be something like a Star Trek or a Marvel? Who knows? But we're going to put together a list, and you, the jury, will decide. Right now, members of the jury that I will be bringing into my courtroom are here to deliberate on all of these counts. Mr. Ng, would you put up the all 9 counts on screen so that we may view them as a reference? There's the yes, right there. That's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, I got that
Mr.
too.
Ng. You're on point today. With the exception of the tie, I will compliment you. You've been very good here in the
Those are
courtroom.
the 9 counts we've already
even
went
when
through.
You've been awful. Now let's go. Mr. Tucker, would you like to say anything as to any specific count before we bring on other members of the jury? Because I want to hear what they have to say.
The specific count that is the mishandling of the legacy characters. As we've seen with a lot of shows and movies that have tried the reboot process, this is your chance to give a love letter to nostalgia and then onward to the next story. And that's the biggest mishandling of the sequel trilogy, is never getting Luke, Han, and Leia in the same room to have a scene together. When Han Solo was murdered at the end of Force Awakens, all of that went out the window. And bringing him back as a Force ghost makes no sense. So they've mishandled every aspect of it.
Thank you for your statement, Mr. Tucker. I'm going to bring the members of the jury on one by one. We have a lot waiting in the wings. We will do our best so that everyone has an opportunity. I promise. Right now, we're just gonna go in order as I see them. M. Juror, you are joining the proceedings. Hello, Mr. Juror.
Hello.
Good to see you. Care to make a statement? You can speak to Mr. Tucker and anything that you'd like to say with regard to all of the counts.
They should hit them with the book. I mean, the counts are pretty valid, and the proof is there, especially the past couple weeks that we've been doing all this. Evidence is hard when it comes to a lot of the mischief that went on with Disney. And yeah, I'm here to kind of just put the nail in the coffin, I guess.
All right, well, let's join Mr. Carver is joining us now.
Get out the nails
anything
and
you'd like
hammer.
to say before we bring on more members of the jury, and we'll go to
I
open
don't know
discussion.
any of these guys, so.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Honorable Judge. Hail the 199. I've been watching Star Wars since
Hail
the
199.
original
There
trilogy
you
on
go.
Laserdisc before George got his fingers into it. I was there fourth in line at the premiere of Revenge of the Sith. When I was still in high school, we used to really show up for these movies, and ever since then, it's just gone swirling the drain down in the toilet. And even though Last Jedi was visually stunning, You can put a gold coat of spray paint on a pile of poop and it's still a pile of poop.
Well, there you go.
Saved it with the last thing that you just mentioned. Thank you for that, Mr. Carver. Mr. Gandalf identifies as White Jedi. I'm just going to call you Mr. Jedi. Thank you for joining us today. Would you like to make an opening statement before we go?
I like his chair. Very similar to mine.
I've watched, I was introduced to the trilogy in 1985.
Wow.
When they showed and here in Hollywood at the Egyptian Theater and loved them. Had no problem with them. I know that Disney, that Bob Iger, he was also partaking in the Young Adventures of Indiana Jones, and we didn't have a problem with him back then. Why do we have a problem with him now? That's my question.
All right. Joining us also now, Geek Truth 64 is here. I have seen you in the chat, sir. Would you like to make an opening statement before we go to open debate?
Yes, Chris. I want to mention Shadows of the Empire, just like
he's wearing a cool
Mr.
hat.
Tucker, no relation to Chris Tucker of the Rush Hour franchise. Shadows of the Empire. This book right here came out in the 1990s. A lot of people argue that that was the darker time for Star Wars fans because we didn't have content coming out. I mean, we had the book.
I may
there
read
were
that one
video
after
games, we had comic books.
Timothy
and
Zahn
we
series.
had toys. Yes, I stacked all of this before we got started.
Look like Darth Maul's face.
And in the 90s, that's what we had. And that was enough. I don't, that arguably should have been the dark time for Star Wars fans because we didn't have content. Now, we've got tons of content. We have lots of content coming from Disney, spending billions of dollars with 5 movies and 24 seasons of television. Billions of dollars. And I've never seen the fans divided as much as I have between Disney Star Wars fans and people who don't like Disney Star Wars.
Pretty much.
Here. So as far as contrasting Shadows of the Empire, the 90s Star Wars with nothing versus now we're getting everything just proves that just because we have a lot of content doesn't necessarily mean that that's a benefit for Star Wars fans or the franchise.
That is correct.
Thank you for your statement, Mr. Truth 64.
More content doesn't always mean better
continuing
content.
On, Angry Yeti, thank you so much for joining us today. You'd like to make an opening statement before the jury begins its deliberations?
Yes. I've been a fan of Star Wars since I was a child, and my father introduced me to the original trilogy. From there, I went on to watch the sequel trilogy. There's been some contention there, but I liked it well enough. And for over 20 years, I have been infected with Star Wars. It has been a scratch that I've always felt the need to itch. And that led me to start my 20-year journey on the 220 plus books from Del Rey. In this particular book right here, since Vector Prime to this one, they have been fighting an enemy that would eat Kylo Ren's lunch. In these books, you can find the quality of story that Disney has been claiming to put out. Like most of y'all, I've not been happy with it. And hopefully we'll see a change eventually.
Thank you very much, Angry Yeti. I'm going to throw it to Mr. Tucker. If you'd like to go through the counts, and Mr. Ng, if you would put the counts on screen so we can all view them. Mr. Ng, thank you very much. Mr. Tucker, if you would like to go through the counts, let's get a sense of where the jury is leaning.
Absolutely. Count 1. Fraudulent misrepresentation. When they bought it, they said they were going to do great things with it. We've not seen any of that. Sure, a broken clock is right twice a day. The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 were pretty good, but even that had to fall by the wayside.
Them.
The Boba Fett show, oh my God, they took a legacy character and ruined him. It's definitely fraudulent misrepresentation. Even on a ground level with their theme parks, where what was promised at Galaxy's Edge is nothing like what was delivered at Galaxy's Edge. Count number 2, fraudulent misuse of canon. Yeah, these is things that they have changed in Star Wars, such as turning Slave Leia into Hutt Slayer Leia, Slave One into a fire spray, I think is what they call it. It's just odd to paint something that was made so long ago with a modern brush, and it doesn't hold well with us fans who, up until a couple of years ago, spent hundreds of dollars on these very named items
Had an
that are
internet
now
glitch.
problematic. Count 3. Negligent handling and management of the
Agreed,
Star Wars
Tracy.
franchise. Well, that goes without saying, doesn't it?
Yeah, Boba Fett. I really used to love Boba Fett as a character. I thought he was extremely cool, mysterious, and just an all-around bad dude that kick your butt if you looked at you sideways. And for them to create a show that just made him look like he was old, out of date, and just not relevant, and it was so lame, and I agree 100%. It wasn't good until Mando had to come in, which was pretty much season 1.5. But I think they did that because I think they ultimately saw the handwriting on the wall that Boba Fett wasn't as good as they thought he'd be, because they tried to make it all this woke SJW stuff and pushing their little agenda, because it turned out to be more the Fennec Shan series, which, don't get me wrong, I love what's her name? Ming. I love the actress. She played in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I love her portrayal in that, as well as even in Star Wars. But the fact that they put the main character that's in the title of the show secondary is what bothered me. Tracy says, with Baby Yoda, yeah, I know that's not his name, but that's what Grogu looks like. Yeah, she was a good character, and Boba Fett was a good character until they made the Boba Fett show, and then they made him something he wasn't. Because it's almost like, I don't know, that Disney either A, didn't even know the source material, which they've come out and admitted, at least Potato Candy has, saying that there wasn't any source material to work off, yet there was 20 plus years worth of stuff. And they could have just done, in my opinion, they could have done so much more. And I wish I could find that article. There was an article that Tamura Morrison, who plays Boba Fett, came out later, months later after the show, and said that he didn't like the way his character was treated either. He was expecting it to be a completely different show than what turned out to be. Anyway, let's get back to it. Let's see what Mr. Tucker's still got to say about things. I think he's still on, talking about the feel of the jury on count 1.
This is the only company in the world that could take a franchise like Star Wars and create a film called Solo. Now, Solo was made twice.
Solo lost
Took
money.
a crack at it. Everybody showed up for work every day at 6 a.m. for months, and guess what? They lost money on it. Didn't make a dime, and the toys ended up at Five Below.
He just said what I said.
Count 4. Malicious introduction of current day politics. Oh, yes, that's the Force is Female t-shirt, which I've yet anyone still to explain to me what it means. What does it mean that the Force is female? The Force is universal. The Force is an energy force that surrounds us, binds us, penetrates us, and binds the galaxy together.
Yeah, I would think that if George wanted the Force to be female, he would have said so when he made
it didn't
the
matter
original series.
how Han Solo got his name, that he was alone. It didn't matter that Lando was a player. We certainly didn't need to know that he was having sex with a robot. There's so much mishandling, demystifying of lore. It's obscene. Count 8, blatant disregard and threatening of fans. Well, that's the best one, isn't it? Where if you have an opinion about the film and you dare to describe it or explain it online, somehow you're the bad guy. You know, given my opinion a lot, and I've had people tell me that I'm the problem.
Oh, I
How can
agree.
I be the problem?
I mean, because some people see in Star Wars, I'm one of them. I don't necessarily think the Force is God, but I think it represents possibly the idea of God, that we're all bound together as the human race, created by a living God. And to call the Force female is kind of like you said, Tracy, a backhanded compliment. Well, not really a compliment, a backhanded slap from Potato Kennedy. Anyway, while we're stopped here, let me do something. I want to hide. I don't like showing the chat replay. There we go. I don't know why that came back on because I normally turn it off before we start playing. But anyway.
I'm the guy buying a ticket. Count 7, negligent misuse of legacy characters. Turning Luke Skywalker into an a-hole. Turning Han and Leia into an estranged divorced couple who don't speak to each other.
Yeah.
So much so that when Han dies, Leia comforts a new character and not Chewbacca. It's unbelievable how they've misused legacy characters that are so important to us.
Yeah, that part really bothered me a lot in the sequels. I'll be honest. Because Han and Chewbacca are an item. I mean, they're a duo. They have been together since, well, from the almost very beginning. And for Han to die, it had to devastate Chewbacca. And then he wasn't comforted at all by Leia? I don't understand that one. I really don't. I mean, it's just kind of like a flippant acknowledgement by Leia, but not the way it should have been. It should have been like her and Chewbacca and maybe even Luke were affected by Han's death. I mean, you're talking about the trio here. It doesn't make much sense to me. Anyway, I ramble on.
This is modern day mythology. Count 8, blatant misuse of the expanded universe. They threw it all away, and now they're only now picking and choosing what they want to include, such as Thrawn and some of the other items from the EU. But everything that we read, it never happened.
They even changed
their arm.
how Thrawn
they
is.
used the Men in Black gun to say it never happened. Conspiring, count 9, conspiring with and maliciously hiring activists. Yeah, they hired some untalented writers and producers to put these things together with the idea of putting their politics in it as a way of shaming those of us that have loved it for so long. They try to bring in new people.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
You're muted, Judge.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that. I think it's
See, I'm not the only one that has muting issues.
Yeah, you stole it from me, otherwise I'd be drinking it.
With regard to your question, sir, Mr. Tucker, the Force is female. What does it mean? Mr. Ng, if you would answer that for us.
What does the Force is female mean?
What does that mean, sir?
Well, if you have been watching for the past several weeks, this has been a highly contentious debate. You know, was the Force is female? Is that a real slogan, or is that a shoe slogan? And we go back and forth on it. But the feeling is that even if it was,
Yeah, what he's talking about here is I read an article a while back that supposedly the Force is female thing is supposed to be that Potato Kennedy was working hand in hand with Nike to promote Star Wars, and that the Force is female refers to the Nike Force shoes and not the Force itself in Star Wars. I don't know if I 100% buy that. But let's see what Mr. Ng's got to say about this.
meant to be a shoe slogan, it cuts right to the heart of where Star Wars is, at least the way Disney sees it. and it is the fact that toxic masculinity used to rule over the Star Wars universe, the Star Wars empire, and now we are bringing that much-needed estrogen to bring balance back to the Force, and make it female once again.
Well, I don't normally swear in court, but that's got to be the biggest bullshit answer I've ever heard, sir. Simply through a statement doesn't make it true.
Good word salad.
Before we open to debate here, we have a couple super chats that came in. We have members of the channel that are currently watching and commenting, and we thank them for tuning in on the afternoon here. John Orchard for 5 says, "I love to count. Ha ha ha. Guilty on all counts with no shame." Crunchy Beaver.
Wait a minute. Let's see
time,
here.
I say the statement "Crunchy Beaver." These words haunt me. These words haunt
Okay,
me
wait a
to this
minute.
day.
Let's
Crunchy
go
Beaver,
to the
10.
open debate part.
Ashes to ashes, dust to dust. Like the Titanic, Star Wars is going. That depends on the floor to
Okay, here we
open
go.
debate amongst everyone here as members of the jury. All conversation, all counts. Where do you see things going? Don't all talk at once.
All right.
we've seen where things are going. Bob Iger himself said they're going to pull back. They're going to stop making so much content because how many Star Wars films have been announced and then quietly put on the shelf? When I was a kid, Star Wars was an event. You had to wait 3 years between movies. That gave you time to collect all the Kenner toys, and that was an important time of comic books and toys. And
I'll tell you this much: when I was growing up, he's not wrong. Star Wars was an event. Matter of fact, one of the things I remember most about when Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back came out, my oldest brother came all the way from California to come home to see us, not only for the holidays, but also to go see the Star Wars film with the whole family. We all went as a family to go see it because it was a major event for our family. And it's not now. It's because, like he said, that they're just announcing one movie after another just for them to get shelved or never happen. And just like most people, this little Star Wars penguin is just kind of apathetic to all of it anyway. Nothing really brings me all that much joy anymore about the franchise I love. I am enjoying rereading the Timothy Zahn series, but like when I watched the Ahsoka series, it was just kind of, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. It was just meh. And I never thought that this little penguin would ever in his lifetime say that about anything Star Wars. That it's just meh. That's where we've gotten to. It's just sad. Anyway, continuing on.
And playing and creating your own scenarios and then seeing what was on the big screen. Now Star Wars is available every week. It's no different than TJ Hooker.
Well, they're owned by Hasbro now, so no more Kenner toys. Maybe there's a correlation there. I think that, as I said earlier in my opening statement, Shadows of the Empire, in the 90s, there really wasn't anything coming out for Star Wars fans. I became a fan in the 90s. I think that's evident that you don't need content, active new content, in order to bring people onto a franchise. And I think that the real issue here, or the main debate that I see a lot from people who like some of the Disney Star Wars, some of them don't, some of them like certain aspects or whatnot, is, well, just be happy that you're getting something. And I would argue that I was happier when I was getting nothing, when I was getting a comic book, and that was it. And so I just don't buy that argument at all.
Well, I'll say this. It's funny. They sit here, Bob Iger and Kathleen, and they talk about how rough they have it with Star Wars versus Marvel. They just don't have the source material that Marvel has. Like I mentioned earlier, there's over 220 of these books. I could pick up one of these books.
I've got source material to go off of.
Away from finishing them, and I'll be done with all the Del Rey books, and then I'll read them again. I can open up any one of these books, and I can feel like I'm in the movie.
Yep.
Forget watching it. I can feel like I'm part of it. I can visualize Han Solo leading a fleet to success, even though he doesn't want to do it, because that's just not him. But he's capable. I can watch. I can almost feel like I'm right there watching Lando Calrissian turn a.
Yeah, I'll just sorry to interrupt again, but I gotta share this. I've not been just reading the Timothy Zahn series, but I've also been reading and listening to the audiobook along with it. And that just kind of like immerses me more into the book again and into that world. And I'm telling you right now, it's so much better than so far any of the content that Disney Star Wars has created. It's just, I can visualize Luke and Mara Jade in the forest where the Islamari is, and that they're preventing Luke's force abilities and the struggle with all that, and that Mara Jade just hates him, and it's and just, you know, Talon Card and all the stuff that he's up to. Anyway, those are the characters that are in that book series, and how Thrawn is looking for Luke and trying to find him. It's just so good, and I think it's a cop-out for Disney Star Wars, for like Bob Iger and Potato Kennedy to both say there are no source material to work off of. What they're really saying, if you read between the lines, so to speak, is they don't want to follow any good source material out there. They want to take this IP and use it for their own nefarious political agenda that they want to push. Because make no mistake, Potato Kennedy is an activist. He believes strongly in the feminist movement, in the woke ideology, the social justice movement that's currently going on, that's permeating every last bit of our beloved IPs. It's no excuse, in my opinion. It's no excuse. It's just what they're really saying is, we don't care what the fans want. We don't care about Star Wars itself. All we care about is pushing our narrative on you, and you need to like it. And when you don't like it, that's when we call you the R word, or we call you stupid, or we throw insult at you for just being what? A lover of Star Wars. Just being a genuine fan. I just don't understand it. It never has made sense to me. Anyway, that's my little ramble for the day. There'll probably be more. There's always more with this little penguin. But nevertheless, let's continue on. I just had to interject in there because what he brought up just made me think about the Timothy Zahn series that I was reading again. It's just so good.
A cruiser upside down over a planet. It's I mean, stuff like that. You're gonna ram a ship through light speed. Yeah, no, that's right.
Stories at all.
Exactly.
They're talking about the Holo maneuver.
It just baffles me that I mean, these were never officially canon to begin with. So decanonizing it's stupid in the first place. I mean, let's forget the fact that for the longest time, the majority of Lucasfilm actually referenced these books
right
in relation to continuity. So it's just
well, there was correlation between the different authors on these books to try
absolutely
and tie them into each other. There was more coordination from random authors who never met each other in person to try and coordinate consistent canon than definitely what we saw from Disney.
Yeah, you could tell every single one of them had read all of the predecessors. The only I guess you could call them continuity errors that I've come across. The only actual continuity errors are with the short stories, but that's okay. They're entertaining still, and you can set those particular ones aside. There's only like 3 collections of short stories. Other than that, I've only come across one book that I think it's misplaced in the timeline, because at the time it says it's at, Wedge Antilles is still a colonel flying in Rogue Squadron when he should be a general already. But if you take that one book and move it back in the timeline a little bit, you're square, good to go.
Yeti, you make a great point. The books are a great source of material. What's an even better way to write a film franchise is to put everybody in a room. Let's not forget, if you've ever watched any of the making of any of the Star Wars films, George Lucas wrote these on a legal pad with a pencil.
Yeah.
It cost him about $3 to write these movies. And the fact that they didn't put a big team in a room and say, here's movie 1, here's movie 2, here's movie 3. They didn't do that. And they let Rian Johnson make his own turd of a film that negated everything we saw in the first movie. It's unbelievable that they would allow that kind of just silly mistake to happen that cost so much. And let's not forget, J.J. Abrams, the man behind Lost, which I consider the beginning of the downfall of pop culture, is responsible for the line, Palpatine is back somehow.
Yeah. Well, I like to say, a lot of people say Lost didn't have a plot. I like to say it had a plot. It just got misplaced. And I kind of feel like under Kathy's leadership, Lucasfilm has kind of gone the same way.
Oh, they're definitely lost. They don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I do want to clarify something, because a lot of what I've seen a lot from people who defend, Disney Star Wars. That's fine if you like it. Don't get me wrong. I have one friend who likes it, and that's one more than none, I guess. But
yeah, I agree completely. If you like it, great. More power to you. We like what we like. Just for this little penguin, out of the sequels trilogy, the only one I really care for is Force Awakens, and that's really because, to be honest with you, it kind of reminds me of A New Hope. Plus, it was the first movie back to Star Wars from so many years of no movies. But there's some things in Force Awakens I don't care for that I didn't like. I know some people don't like Finn as a character, but I actually like Finn. I felt like they kind of did Finn wrong in a way, in some ways. But one of the reasons why I like Finn is it does kind of show in a way that they are capable of doing a story arc. Because Finn has a story arc. That he started out as a stormtrooper and realizes, hey, wait a minute, maybe this isn't where I need to be. Of course, it does as the movie progresses. It does seem like he's just kind of meandering, but he started out with a story arc that I felt like could have gone somewhere. But anyway, if you like the sequels, great. If you like the prequels, great. If you like the OG, great. If you don't like any of it, then why are you watching Star Wars on trial? I'm just kidding. Anyway, I assume you're here watching this, either lurking or watching this video later, that because you like Star Wars. And I'm talking about Disney Star Wars, you're talking about Star Wars. The dead name version Star Wars, Lucas Star Wars. Anyway, Let's get back to it.
Like the argument here is that that we just want the expanded universe. That's all we wanted, and that's the reason why we don't like Disney Star Wars. And I think that's pretty ridiculous. I was fine with. I understood completely from a creative aspect why you'd want to not tie yourself to all.
You
of
hear
those
it because
books.
you like Penguin Bob
But
and
what's
Star
worse
Wars.
now is not only did they throw it out, but now they're pilfering certain things from it and pulling Thrawn out.
Well, I'm
and they're
glad
doing
you're
their
here
own kind
too.
of weird version of Heir to the Empire with Ahsoka and things like that. And so it's just like it's ridiculous that that's a defense that I see a lot. And I think I saw that from one of the members of the defense during this trial.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I mean, it's wild. I mean, yeah, you're right. I could understand, and that's why they were never officially canon to begin with, is because George Lucas made that conscious decision. He didn't want to tie himself to the book, the productions to the books. If he wanted to change his mind, which I'll give you, he was notorious for, changed his mind like a woman changes clothes, but that was his right. He was, I'd said it in a super chat when Doomcock was on here. He was creating something out of nothing. Disney has created nothing out of something, and they're using some of the greatest villains in the EU, like Thrawn, as stepping stones for the strong women. And it's like, you know, I mean, they even put Ahsoka in the books. And when the book that has Ahsoka in it, boy, I'll tell you, I'll take that over anything Disney puts out any day.
Yeah, so Ahsoka is one of the few good characters that Disney's put out there. There are some things Disney's done. As you said, a broken clock is right twice a day. You know, there are some things that they've put out. So, and I'll play devil's advocate on a couple of the counts when we get to it, but I'll yield to anybody else on the jury who wishes to chime in.
Well, I'll chime in.
Please.
Yeah, regarding today's politics, modern day's politics, that's one of the counts that's issued against Disney. And I will say that I'm going to quote
put in modern, current day
Star Wars
politics. Count
Memories
4.
by Craig Miller, now available at Comic-Con. And I got this one at WonderCon, so highly recommend it. He has a private collection of his own photos in the book, never been seen before. So it's totally terrific if you are a Star Wars fan. I just wanted to put that out there. But to quote George Lucas, when he was interviewed on page 371, he says, "The character of Lando, is that in any way a reaction to the press on the lack of non-Caucasians in the film?" George Lucas: "Not really. I mean, it was always intended that way, you know. The whole thing in the press, I think, got blown out of proportion. Because there are actually some blacks in the first film. It's just that people don't notice them." So, to quote George Lucas, there have always been black people. Well, why not women Jedis? Why not black women Jedis? And that's reflected in today's High Republic, Black Women Jedis. So I just want to put that out there, that it's always been diverse.
Yeah, I think
absolutely.
It just need good characters. I mean, most people don't care about this. They just want good characters.
Yeah,
People
go
didn't
look
like
at
Reva 'cause
episode
Reva was a
2,
bad character.
Clone Wars, Attack of the Clone Wars.
Actress Moses
That
Ingram is
scene
a
where you
good
see all these
actress. She
Jedi,
was
if
in
you just
Queen's Gambit.
pause it
She can act.
temporarily,
So
you'll look
whether
and
that's
see all the
bad
different
dialogue,
diverse.
whether that's
I
bad
mean, Mace
directing, I don't know
Windu.
what the issue was
Oh
there.
my
Maybe
goodness,
Paul
Danielle
Lebeau.
Jackson,
But
and the
you know,
purple
that's all we want is
lightsaber.
good characters, you know.
Boy, don't we?
I'll say
He
that
brings a
politics
presence
have always
anyway,
been
no
a
matter
part of
what
Star
he's
Wars.
in.
There's nothing wrong with that. Star Wars came out in 1977 after America had had a pretty bad experience losing the Vietnam War. And seeing a movie about American excellence or somebody doing something for the good guys resonated with a lot of people in the same way that the prequel trilogy had a lot to do with the politics of George W. Bush and his administration. But they're always about good triumphing over evil using stuff that's in the film, story points. The problem with the sequel trilogy is that they just make up shit whenever they need it. If something dies, hey, Ray can bring him back to life. That would have been really handy a few times during the film.
Well, there's no plan.
Well, I mean,
that's the main problem. That's the main problem with the sequels. I mean, I don't. I think somebody on the defense might have argued this. I'm not sure, but if J.J. Abrams had directed all 3 movies, we would have ended up with a much better product. You still would have had people who didn't like it. I'm sure it probably wouldn't be that good, but it would definitely be a lot better than what we got.
It would have been more cohesive. Rian Johnson set out to make his own film. The problem with Rian Johnson's film is it wasn't the first film. He already had things he had to deal with that had been set up that he just decided to ignore, which is baffling to me, completely baffling.
Let me say a couple things.
If they told him, "Hey, this is what we want to do here," from the beginning, here's a laid out plan. This is point A to point C. I mean, the plan was no plan. J.J. Abrams and then Rian Johnson and then Colin Trevorrow, and like that was never going to work.
Oh, most certainly.
I remember watching From Star Wars to Jedi: The Making of a Saga. I think it was on PBS, hosted by Mark Hamill back in 1983-84. The sequence where Luke and Darth are battling on the Death Star in Return of the Jedi, Death Star 2. Luke is hiding under the stairs, and Darth Vader is hunting him with his lightsaber out. And in the script, it said, Darth Vader says something to upset Luke. They didn't even know what he was going to say till they got on set and said, he could probably bring up the sister. He'd say, I'll turn your sister to the dark side. So there are moments where being off the cuff works, but you got to be really talented to do it.
Like Irvin Kershner.
Plus, it's also George Lucas saying we're not at work or not.
Well, let me say something about the because we keep hearing mention. Well, original Star Wars, it was political. I disagree with that in part because there's a difference in being inspired or modeled after current day events, and then there is infusing a project with a divisive and voracious, hateful propaganda.
One concentrates on the story
and
bringing in the modern day events and politics into it.
It's not
the
kind of message
story along, but the story is key.
With this,
it's
not
foremost,
sustainable.
And the other, like the sequels, is just all about the agenda, and the story is secondary.
And
it doesn't matter.
I cannot imagine why a company would willingly set money on fire spreading the message like this if they did not have some kind of ulterior motive at the end of it.
The only motive I can think of is that when I was growing up, Star Wars was mainly, with some exceptions, for boys. We had T-shirts and lunch boxes. I had every Halloween I dressed as either Luke Skywalker or Darth Vader. And if I asked a girl out on a date and I mentioned Star Wars, it was like kryptonite to her. She didn't want anything to do with me. You're an effing nerd.
Right.
I went to Disneyland because I'm local here in Orange County. The Star Tour store always had a nice assortment of Star Wars, a laser gun, some stickers, this kind of thing. As soon as Disney bought Star Wars, they turned the front store into a giant Star Wars store, and the big display was purses, high heel shoes, per universe dresses. It was a calculated effort to sell Star Wars as something that women could enjoy and not feel bad wearing this stuff in public, which, hey, I'm all for, but not at the exclusion of the men who already liked it.
Well, I mean, if you want to bring, here's the thing, okay? If you want to bring women in, okay, emphasize the stuff that actually empowers women. Leia Organa Sola always refers to her dad as Bail Organa, who was a powerful figure on his own, best friend to Obi-Wan Kenobi, friend to the Jedi as a whole, Admiral Dalla, director Iceheart Issard. I mean, the women that just romped all over the galaxy, built stuff, destroyed stuff. Mon Mothma, thank you. I don't know how I forgot about Mon Mothma. So a lot of people credit Leia with this, but Mon Mothma is the one that built sustained the rebellion and then built the New Republic.
Yep.
Leia was a figurehead until, for all intents and purposes, until the rebellion was won and Mon Mothma stepped down as president of the New Republic.
Well,
And
this idea that there's never been female representation in Star Wars is laughable.
Right.
Look at what
It is.
Lucas did in the first film. Princess Leia is captured at the beginning. We get the message to Luke. He thinks she's gorgeous, so he's going to drop his whole life to go rescue her. And the minute he rescues her, what does she do? She takes the gun and says, "Get this walking carpet out of my way." She becomes much more than you thought she was. That's
Yeah.
right. A powerful female character.
Exactly.
Yeah, but if Disney didn't buy Star Wars, what other studio could produce it? I mean, Universal, Sony.
I guess it could have been Fox, and then they just would have gotten bought by Disney anyway.
Yeah.
But
You know.
Well, I mean, I think Universal could have done a good job. I originally thought J.J. Abrams could have done a good job. A lot of people ragged on him for the Star Trek movies, but I liked it well enough. He's like
2009 was a Star Wars movie. I mean, it was.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but he's at least competent, and that's really all you need to tell at least a decent story. And we haven't gotten any of that.
Yeah, he's good at making fast-paced roller coaster ride type of film with not a lot of substance.
Yeah. I mean, he's got too much of a love affair with lens flares, but other than that,
yeah, lens
I
flares
think JJ could
and
have done
repurposing
Raiders
content.
of the Lost Ark. I think he could have done, Dial of Destiny, if it were done earlier. But I don't think he could have done another Star Wars. That's what I think, because he's always imitating, but he never is creative. Doesn't
Yeah,
seem to
see
have
right
his
there,
own
he just
style.
says it too.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Doesn't finish him. Hence the Lost aspect that was brought up earlier. I mean, he was only involved in the pilot and like the first few episodes. He's tied to that series, but he didn't do anything past like the initial setup of it.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing, one of the biggest things, is that George Lucas had a treatment for the entire trilogy, for the entire sequel trilogy. He at least had a treatment, a roadmap, something to go. And as soon as he sold his intellectual property on good faith, and they would at least take some bits and pieces. And instead, they sucked all the intellect out of it, kicked him to the curb, and decided to go further into the abyss with absolutely no direction. And it shows, and it was just, sheer effing hubris. And there was no
Star Trek.
Is that Star Trek? I don't think that's Star Trek.
Well,
I think that's the impersonator.
It's some version of Star Trek.
Yeah, Star Trek in name only.
I'd like to just take a pause in the proceedings as we take a look at some videos. You may also go for a brief recess. We're going to play some of these videos, and I want you to continue. Then we will continue.
Good, because I need to go to the little penguins room again.
Some comments here. Wait, just some comments. We'll do these comments
I got a
very
little bird
quickly.
bladder.
Solomon Thornton says, "I am black and I don't like Reva." There you are. Crunchy Beaver for 5 says, "On an island of..."
Is that a compliment?
I'm not sure exactly what.
Thank you for the $5.
Take it that way.
Not exactly sure what that means, but just.
I'm doing this.
Okay, we're gonna go ahead and take a break. Oh man, I can't stop it on her face. Let's stop it on George's face. Or like that. There we go. Star Wars. Anyway, let's I'm gonna go take a good 3 or 4 minute break. I'm gonna give me some more iced coffee and get up and stretch. I need to go to the little penguins room as well. So I encourage you to do the same, and we'll be back shortly to finish the rest of this Jury Deliberation special for Star Wars on Trial by Critics Court Film Threat. So hang tight, campers. We'll be back. Okay, let's see if yep, there we go. I had it muted for some reason. Anyway, I am back. I got me some iced coffee. So get ready to start sipping like crazy. And then also, I got up and went to the little penguin's room, got a little stretch, and I wound up slapping the mailman with a fish. He didn't care for it too much. Nevertheless. Anyway, thanks. And welcome back to you there, Tracy, too. So let's continue on, and we'll watch the remainder of this crazy thing, the Jury Deliberation special, and see what's going on. Okay, let's, I'm going to pause this temporarily and so forth to read some of this, and then also give me a chance to maybe mute the audio just in case YouTube doesn't like this. Episode 1 and only, Breaking the Universe, Stalemate. All battles have been rendered useless, equipped with the hyperdrive. Any ship can drop out of hyperspace in front of its target, then resume hyperdrive. Boom. As if it weren't enough, there's only one place to get a really good cup of green marine mammal milk. Oh, wait a minute. Back up. I want to read that last part. Anyways, here's how it all began and ended. Game over. That was quick.
I love it.
Very, very, very interesting.
It was a quiet Wednesday, that May 25. Quiet, that is. Until Star Wars exploded onto the silver screen and changed the course of movie making forever. We all know that story, but fast forward 35 years. When a real empire consumed it, changed it, broke it, woke it. The magic is gone. The myth is gone.
911 operator, what's your emergency?
All right, one moment here. Apparently, something going on with the YouTube stream. Okay, let's see here. See if that makes any difference here.
The new
Star Wars fun meals for your kids. A hamburger, french fries, and
Oh, somehow the chat replay came back on. Maybe that's what's causing the problem. One moment. I'm going to turn the chat replay back off. There we go. See if that helps.
Coca-Cola. Imagine how much fun your kids will have.
I really like the old Star Wars commercials here.
Kein Problem mit nur einem Streifen Chewbacca chewing
This one still makes me laugh.
Food? Yes. Crunchy food.
3POs!
3POs.
New Kellogg's C-3POs. Twin rings phase together for a crunchy new force at breakfast.
Yeah, the Force is with us.
A delicious part of this nutritious breakfast.
Star Wars is a modern-day fairy tale, which I really like because it took me on an adventure. I really understood robot R2-D2's feelings when he was scared and when he was crying.
Yeah.
I especially like the special effects.
R2!
Especially the moving monster chess figures. My favorite part is when the stars, Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo,
R2's my favorite.
Chewbacca the Wookiee were stuck in the garbage compactor, and just as they were going to be squished, the walls stopped moving. I liked the film, but there are some parts that were hard to understand, such as how a simple boy from the country can fly a spaceship and shoot a gun and hit right on target. And that Princess Leia was sure bossy.
Princess Leia was sure bossy.
Oh my God! Killed Star Wars.
What I was trying to do is stay independent so I could make the movies I wanted to make. But at the same time, I was sort of fighting the corporate system, which I didn't like. And I'm not happy with the fact that corporations have taken over the film industry. But now I found myself being the head of a corporation. So there's a certain irony there.
Yeah,
is
no
that
doubt.
I've become the very thing that I was trying to avoid.
The problem is that making film is an art. Selling film is a business.
Right.
The trouble is that they don't know how to sell films. As a result, they try to make you make films that people will go to without them having to be sold, which is the real...
Taylor Kennedy.
Okay, thank you for that brief break. Perhaps some of the video material there might lend some insight from the mind of George Lucas. Very quickly here, comment. The Lost Tales, threat level 1, has been a member for 6 months. It says, here's to 6 months of support to a
Lost
childhood hero.
Tales!
Well, thank you
He's
so
a member of
much.
my channel,
That's
too.
amazing. I do appreciate it.
He's
We're
the
gonna
one that told me the
continue,
other day
our jury
that
deliberations
he's
here,
been watching these,
and, ask you
not
all
necessarily
to,
live, but he's been rewatching my Star Wars on Trial
express
talks
your
on
final
this, on Penguin
statement
Thoughts.
As we move towards our
cool.
finale on July 26th, we're going to have many special guests.
Shout out to Lost Tales.
I don't want to reveal who they are right now, but you will be shocked at who the special guests are going to be. And not only will we be going through every single count in which members of the jury will vote, but in addition, there will be a sentencing. There will be a sentencing after, depending on which way the jury goes. Also, of course,
I'm not going to spoil it, but I've already seen the verdict live stream.
So
I was there when it happened.
With that in mind, any final remarks or final statements from the jury? The last thing that you'd
is
like to say
interesting.
for today,
Very interesting.
regarding
I think
where
you'll
you
like
think
it,
this
Tracy.
case might go.
I have one thing
You
that
can
I
probably
wanna
guess,
say,
yeah,
and it
but
should be very short.
I'm not going to tell you.
They seem to have either neglected or forgot how much George Lucas talked about the hero's journey with Luke Skywalker, and trying to replicate and inject their own politics into the sequel trilogy with Rey. She didn't have a hero's journey. She had a hero's time warp. But what they didn't expect is that it would time warp straight
hero's
to the
journey.
Event Horizon.
Okay, thank you very much. Who else would like to step up?
I would like to say something. When it comes to, I guess, future productions with Star Wars, I don't think we're getting anything of quality anytime soon. Hard evidence right here. And that mischief for sure, definitely within the company. Watching interviews with Mark Hamill
I think it's
the
just
past couple of
meh
days, and the
quality.
subtle jabs he takes at Ryan Johnson
Not good,
during production.
not bad. Just
And the awkwardness that also came with the interviews as well. Evidence on their own merits. I
Some
guess
things
you could
bad,
say.
some things good.
And that
but still, just overall,
this case is pretty
meh.
much done. I think we all know where it's gonna go, but
Okay, who else would like to make a final statement? with your
Yeah,
recommendations and-
I'd like to chime in.
Please.
I did try to read the comic books, Galaxy's Edge. There is such a comic book that they sell at Disneyland, and it was very difficult to read, and it was not engaging at all. And I've read comic books my whole life. I've tried to read the High
Yeah, me
Republic,
too.
the first book. It just, I just kept falling asleep. And
How many
I
books
did
should
try
put you
to
to sleep?
give Kenobi, which I thought was just a middle finger. I thought it was just a middle finger to anybody. It seemed so inconsistent in behavior and lore. And I don't even remember any of the music. And the music is one of the most memorable things from Star Wars.
Yeah.
People, even those kids, we would hum.
John
the music
Williams
from
was
Star
another
Wars.
character.
It's so memorable.
His
And
music was another
now
character in
today,
all of Star Wars.
I can't even
oh
hum
my
you
goodness.
Rey's theme or Palpatine's theme. So I just want to say that I did give it a chance, and it's a no-go for me.
Okay.
I would agree with him on that.
Anyone
The
else
music.
before we
I'll
see
jump in.
trilogies. It just didn't
Sure.
stick with you.
So, something that Hollywood seems to have forgotten is that creativity and freedom go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Creativity will thrive in freedom, and if you're looking for Star Wars that is creative and will scratch that itch, just get a Del Rey book. Read the Thrawn trilogy. Read the Bane trilogy.
The Thrawn trilogy.
The duologies.
I could not.
I mean, they go into
not
so much detail.
recommend
that
more
you cannot
Thrawn
find
trilogy.
in a movie, even if it is done right.
Timothy's on. That's good stuff.
I've been doing Star Wars my whole life. It has been the one constant passion. And the moment Kylo Ren stepped off that ship in Force Awakens, I was done with Disney Star Wars. I called every mistake they made as soon as I saw him walk off that ship. You started with Darth Vader, tall, straight back, imposing, walked everywhere because, he always caught up to his quarry. And then you get Kylo Ren. Oh, my life sucks. I don't like my daddy. Oh, grandfather that's dead. Hear my woes. And it was dry. And to me, Disney Star Wars was dead in that moment. And they had done little to nothing to disabuse me of that notion.
I will say this much.
So,
I do like Adam Driver as an actor. I saw the 65 movie. That was pretty good. And he was good at it.
I'm happy. I'm good. I've got Star Wars. Disney can suck it.
Yeah.
Mr. Truth.
So I'm
Vanity Filter
my
didn't get that.
relationship with Disney Star Wars is I like Force Awakens initially. Then I saw The Last Jedi, and I was like, well, I guess we're done here. And The Mandalorian brought me back. I liked the first season of Mandalorian. I even liked season 2, to be honest.
Yeah, so did I.
To me, what really put the final nail in the coffin was Kenobi. I think Kenobi is worse than the sequel. It's the worst Star Wars I've ever seen. I absolutely despise that show.
I would probably agree.
And at this point, I'm just done with Disney Star Wars. There's no benefit of the doubt left for me to give them. I don't know how.
The one part that really irks me about all this is that Ben was on Tatooine to watch after Luke, not to watch after Leia. That was not his job. That was Bail Organa's job. And it's just so wrong that they swapped out Luke with Leia. And I have nothing wrong with Leia or a young Leia. I would love to see that kind of story. That's fine. But Kenobi was not there to be for Leia. If so, then how come is it when he saw the message from R2 for the first time in A New Hope, why didn't she address him as already known him from her childhood and stuff? It just breaks canon, not to mention, more importantly, crying out loud, what could have happened to Luke during all that? When Kenobi was off Tatooine and not watching after him, nobody was there protecting Luke then. For crying out loud. I don't know. I just don't get it. It made no sense whatsoever. And I felt like bringing Vader and Kenobi back for a duel, I thought might be cool, but it turned out not to be. Kenobi running around like he's a scared little girl, afraid of Vader. I just don't understand it. I just don't. And I don't know. It just, to me, that just shows exactly the mindset of Disney when it comes to creating Star Wars. They don't care. They don't care. All they care about is one thing, pushing their agenda, and not about a good story or even a good Star Wars story. You know, it's sad. I just don't get it. I don't. It confuses this little penguin. And I'm easily confused, I admit it. Nice and shiny gets me every time. But at the same time, even this doesn't make sense to me. So. Exactly.
Things I'm supposed to watch.
They're more interested in demasculating,
give them chances
Kenobi,
on
the
how
men,
many times I got to be disappointed
and
for
that
you
was
just give
the
up. There's
agenda.
other things to
And
do.
pushing
There's other
the
past Star Wars
greatness
things
of
I've not. Plenty of Star Wars
femininity,
books
which
I haven't read. There's other franchises out
I don't
there.
have a
There's
problem
other
with a
things
strong
to
female lead.
experience. So
I like
as far
Leia.
as Star Wars being
And
dead, I don't
I even like
necessarily
Padme.
know if I would say Star Wars is dead because there are people who like it. But Star Wars is
just don't
dead
get
to
it.
me personally, as far as new content goes. So
Yeah.
I think that's really the crux of the argument here is what percentage of the fan base has to consider a franchise dead before it's dead. That's what I'm gonna leave it with.
Excellent.
This is
point, Mr.
entertainment,
Truth.
not politics.
Mr. Tucker.
Yes, there's been always a little bit of politics
and
and
gonna
stuff,
look at,
but not
drawings and
outright
sketches from today's
agenda.
proceedings.
I don't want
from
to watch
Mr.
something and be
Blackwood, but
preached at.
Mr. Tucker, please. It's,
If I do that, I'll
it's
watch a
Tucker
sermon.
time. I actually have a pin.
I like sermons.
It's
I like
Tucker
watching
time.
preachers.
And thank you for being here today.
It's a pleasure to be here.
But when
Like
I
said,
want
grew
to watch
up
a good Star
idolizing
Wars story, I don't want to be told
I named my oldest
what to
child,
believe.
my firstborn,
I
Luke
just want
Skywalker
to immerse
Tucker.
myself
so
in the
I
world.
put my money where my mouth
Anyway.
is. I love Star Wars. Star Wars was the hot chick in high school that you dreamed about. And now she's big and bloated, fat, and she's dead. Star Wars is dead. They've kicked it. They've burned it. They've destroyed it. The only thing left to do with Star Wars now is to drag it to the moon of Endor and set it on fire and hope that nobody finds any of the ashes. What's done is despicable.
On Endor.
I can't believe what they've thrown up on the screen from announcing Palpatine's
That's a
return in
visual.
a video game, not in the movie, to Rey somehow taking up the magical mantle of Skywalker at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
I'm
that
done.
was stupid.
I could care less about Star Wars. I'll retreat into the nostalgia of yesterday, and that's
Ooh,
where I'll find
3PO.
my happiness, because it sure as hell ain't in it now until Kennedy is out, until Disney decides.
Potato Kennedy!
We can't miss Star Wars until it goes away, and it's time for it to go away for a while. George knew it, and he was right.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker, and thank you to all of the jurors
Bad to say
today
it, but I
for
kind
your
of agree.
attendance.
Star Wars needs to be shelved for a while
I
and
just
come
have to
back
say
and maybe
that
rebooted.
I love a vigorous debate, and
But not
and once
not
again,
rebooted
it
with
is
the
almost
agenda, but
possible to read the
back
room
to being
and
Lucas.
know exactly
Star
how
Wars
this
type.
court trial will what the verdict will be, and I believe this is the heart of debate. To be able to weigh both sides And you know, I'm on pins and needles. I am truly excited to find out which, you know, guilty or not guilty. I have no idea. Absolutely no idea.
We're totally unbiased.
Look at
here.
that. Look at that. He's holding Luke Skywalker action figure.
So
thank you, thank you, Mr. Ng, for that. Mr. Blackwood, let's take a look at some of what you've
here we go,
made,
Mr. Blackwood,
during the proceedings today. Well, there you go. Okay.
His lightsaber kind of fell apart.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's a
Blackwood bringing
hand.
the fire again.
Very, very interesting stuff.
That was in the cantina.
Yeah.
Oh, there's what the?
My understanding is that Mr. Blackwood.
Wait a minute. I want to go back to this one. What in the world is that? Is that like a baby Yoda Grogu holding a Boba Fett? No way! Oh, it's so messed up. But it definitely represents the whole book of Boba Fett, doesn't it? In a nutshell. The show was just nothing until the one episode 5, I think it was, when Mando was back in there and baby Grogu. Oh, Mr. Blackwood, you are hilarious on some of your stuff. Oh, he's been the highlight of this. And I'm hoping that when they do the Star Trek on trial, that they have Mr. Blackwood again drawing all that stuff. That'd be cool to see. I think they will. I hope they will. But that would be cool. It's funny. Let's see what else he's got here. Come on.
Yeah.
There we
go. My understanding is that Mr. Blackwood will be
Misuse of
doing
canon.
a Kickstarter with where he'll be selling a copy of a
Is that
book with all the
Potato
sketches,
Kennedy?
that he's made during the entire trial.
I think so.
It's now several hundred sketches in total.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
that
You
have
could
been
actually
done
get these statues.
during during everything that we've done here. So this is it's pretty spectacular. Thank you, Mr.
Ultimate
Blackwood. I also want to remind people that Mr. Ng and I will be.
Chris Gore
Ng and I will actually be in San Diego during San Diego Comic-Con.
Oh, Darth Maul.
We have a panel on
With the
Thursday,
megaphone, because he's a
July
hiring
20th
activist.
at 4 p.m. at the Marriott. It's our indie filmmaker survival guide. In addition, if you follow me on social media,
It's hilarious.
I'm going to be doing a signing of copies of Attack of the Doc on Blu-ray, which I now actually physically have copies, and I'll have them for sale at San Diego Comic-Con. And in addition, Alan, isn't there there's another panel on Saturday that you and I will be at?
Yes, it'll be Everyone's a Critic. It's run by our good friend Bill Waters. That's Saturday at 5:30.
Saturday at 5:30, Everyone's a
Convention
Critic.
Center.
Excellent. Thank you. So I want to thank everybody today for your hard work.
Final statements are
For
next.
considering
Okay.
both sides of this. We're not biased at all.
Yeah,
I mean, I can play
right.
devil's advocate. Not at all.
It says something if I'm
Yeah,
the
it
most
could go
positive
either
one.
way. That's all.
But, I mean, at the end, it's all intellectual.
Mr.
pop.
Truth, you had something you wanted to say. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just saying we're in bad shape if I'm the positive one.
Well,
Agreed. Same here.
It's been great times. Well, thank you. Mikov sends me chat 25 PLN. I don't know what that is. As a member, says, as one of the great characters from Star Wars game Knights of the Old Republic 2.
Oh, that's a
Kreia
good
said,
game.
Apathy is death. We see a lot of apathy towards Star Wars. Franchise is dying.
Agreed.
PLN will
I got
do.
apathy toward Disney Star Wars.
It's a Polish Zolti, by the way.
Never thought I'd
yes,
feel that
thank
way
you.
either.
Oh, wow. Well, I am part Polish, so I do appreciate that.
That's just
Well, thank you
messed
very
up.
much for that. We will end it there. We will be at San Diego Comic-Con this week. Perhaps Mr. Tucker there. Jeff Tucker, will you be at San Diego Comic-Con?
I'll be there on Thursday. I'll look for you.
Look for me on Thursday. I want to thank members of the jury. You're all members of the Film Threat YouTube channel. We appreciate your support. Alan and I and everyone from Film Threat enjoy entertaining you week to week. And we love, yes, somebody's got drinks. Angry Yeti knows what's up.
I gotta go get another one.
I got iced coffee.
Yeah. But I want to thank you all. We'll have a
Sip,
good
sipping
time on
away.
July 26th together with a lot of special guests. It's going to be a spectacular show. It's our finale, the season finale of Critics Court Star Wars on Trial.
Yep.
I want to thank all
Next
the members,
week,
also the members
the verdict.
who are in the
Don't
chat
want to miss
watching
it.
who did not
Be
participate
there
on
or be
camera.
a trapezoid.
Thank you all. I'm doing as
You got
the
real coffee
producer of
today.
the show, Glenn
Woohoo,
Brown,
Tracy.
says. This is the Irish goodbye.
Yeah, baby.
Meaning I take too
This
long
is
to
my
say
second
goodbye.
iced coffee of the
We're
day.
gonna leave it at that.
Oh.
And we're gonna leave
Pumps
it at
me
that.
up.
And we're just gonna leave it at that and say, everyone,
me
may the
going.
force be with you.
Peace.
May the
force
fish be with you. And they use the Vulcan salute.
May the force be with you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Well,
everybody.
if it's smaller, be sure to set aside 5 hours.
We'll see you in San Diego. and
Whoa,
we'll see
4
you
cups
July
already.
26th
Wow.
in court.
Hell.
Carry on.
There you go. That is the end of the Jury Deliberation special. And next week is the final day 12 of the Star Wars on Trial Critics Court. And it will be the verdict, where we find out exactly what happens to Disney Star Wars in the case of the murdered franchise of Star Wars. We're not Kathleen Kennedy, Potato Kennedy and her crew are found guilty or innocent. So you don't want to miss it. And I know some people out there may have already seen this verdict from Film Threat, and I know you can go ahead and watch it if you really want to. But I'm hoping you'll watch this little penguin's thoughts on it, because that's what I'm going to be doing is watching it again next week at the same time, same Bat Penguin channel, and we'll be talking about it. And as always, the down in the description there are links to today's video, as well as the link to Film Threat's Critics Court's channel on YouTube, and also Mr. Blackwood's stuff. So I encourage you to go over there and like and subscribe his content, as well as if you really like this little penguin and his thoughts, like and subscribe my stuff too. I greatly appreciate it. If not, I am glad you at least tuned in to watch a little bit of this, and hopefully I'll eventually win you over, and you'll go, oh, I like watching the little feathers fly from that little penguin. He's crazy. And that's exactly my whole point. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for today, campers. And this is the little Star Wars geeky penguin. And I always got to say this last thing. May the fish be with you. And I can't do the Vulcan salute thing because I only got a flipper. I ain't got hands that can separate fingers and stuff. I got a flipper though. But I can hang it up like this and go, may the fish be with you. So later, peeps.